hat, Frank, by the way. What does it say again? What does your hat say again, Frank?
Says Fiore, the man, the myth, and the legend.
All right. My guest today is Ram Iyer. Ram, thanks for stopping by. And, we talked about off air, you being an MIT grad. And my father, God rest his soul, was an MIT grad. How much do you utilize that in your day to day and how you help people in business and stuff like that based on
Well,
having that MIT degree?
let me connect it to Frank's hack. See, there is a perception about MIT grads. Okay. There is how you behave as an MIT grad. But in order for you to behave, you need to own it. In other words, you can give me a jacket, but unless I wear the jacket and embrace it and love it, I'm not going to look good in it. Right? So getting an MIT education is one part, but accepting it and embracing it and owning it is part two. Using it requires an entirely different skill set, which I call smartness.
Okay.
So am I proud of being an MIT grad? Yes. Does that make me better than anybody? No, that's not the way I see it. See, I have a certain skill. I want to use it. I want to help, solve problems that humans have, help society, which is what I'm doing now.
Okay, good, Frank.
Well, I got your questions here. What do you think so many people are unsuccessful or less successful in spite of being smart? Smart is in quotes, what I mean? Not necessarily high IQ. So what separates the two?
See, there are many people who have many advantages. So for example, Frank, let's start with you. Your good looks, right? But just because you have good looks doesn't automatically make you successful. Okay? Just because you have a degree from somewhere, or think of somebody wealthy, or let's say somebody who looks handsome or looks beautiful, somebody who has a title, somebody who has power. Okay? There are so many things that you say, I have, and you, and you don't have. What I found, I started this with intelligence, people with high intelligence. And I have data on about 1,200 graduates of MIT, Harvard, etc., because I have an assessment. There's a difference between intelligence and smartness. Smartness is the contextual use of your intelligence. So it's kind of like I have a hammer in my hand. Does that automatically make me powerful? No. Smartness is knowing when to use the hammer, what to use the hammer on, when not to use the hammer. Most people don't make those distinctions, and therefore they end up doing the wrong thing at the wrong time. And they say, oh my gosh, I'm an MIT grad, how come I'm not successful? Like I had one business that took off and served clients in 16 countries. I was in 20 magazines, Fortune, Money Magazine, CIO, CF, all kinds. The next one almost drove me bankrupt. It wasn't the world's mistake. I screwed up because I didn't take my intelligence and use my smartness to achieve the results that I could have. But I screwed it up myself.
Wow.
So who was the worst enemy? Me, not somebody else.
All right, Frank, I'll hit question two. I noticed that you make a distinction between intelligence and smartness. Why is it so important? Why is that so important?
See, intelligence is largely what you're born with. You have an IQ of X, okay? So you have a higher IQ than me. I can't change my IQ and say, I'm going to beat Neil today. That's not the way it works. However, I can use my intelligence in ways that are much better than the way in which you use it. So you've heard of words like clever. Cleverness, somebody who's street smart. Neil has the intelligence, but Ram has the street smarts. Ram has the money, but Frank has better street smartness than Ram does. And it goes on. So what I have found is that smartness is more important. See, any advantage you have, whether it's money, let's stick with intelligence. You have intelligence. It only applies to do well, get good grades in school, get into a good college, get good grades in college, maybe go to grad school. After that, how well you do in your job is if I'm a real ass to work with, it doesn't matter where I went to school. None of you would want to work with me.
Totally.
That is smartness. That is not intelligence. So intelligence can only take you so far. So I found a very simple thing. Most people figure out that intelligence or whatever other assets they have are not good enough to ensure career success in their 40s, mid-career, because they kind of ride the intelligence wave up to a certain point. I went to Harvard, I went to wherever, Penn. I have a lot of money, my father is well connected, whatever it is, to a certain point. And after that, they say, okay, so Ram's father is well connected, but he's an ass to work with. I don't want to work with him. At that point, you've lost. That's because you lack smartness. You have intelligence, you may have power, you may have connections, but you lack smartness. That is the single most important thing that distinguishes unsuccessful people and successful people.
Okay.
And smartness has two very simple components. People fail to act, fail to take action, or they do the wrong thing, right? For two reasons. One, they don't have the skills. So if I don't have good interpersonal skills and, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm good talking with Neil Haley, guess what? I have a problem. That can be learned, okay? That is interpersonal skills. But if I'm afraid of Neil Haley because, oh my gosh, Neil Haley is a radio host, right? That is a mindset issue. I believe that I am lesser than a Neil Haley. I'm lesser than a radio host. The moment you see, it's a very simple thing I tell people. So Neil, let me pick on you. You and
Okay.
me. If I say if you tell me, Ram, I'm superior to you, I can fight you, debunk you, argue with you, right?
Right.
On the other hand, if you say, Ram, I'm inferior to you, I'm going to just fold my hands and say, I'm done. Because you've already accepted defeat. So don't accept inferiority. So in other words, it's all in your head. It's your beliefs, what you value, what kind of rules you run by. So in other words, people who are not successful in life, particularly mid to late career, the number one reason is they are getting in their own way. Let me repeat. The number one reason people fail to become more successful in their mid to late career is because they get in their own way. They can rationalize, they can say, oh, it's John's fault, Mary's fault, but guess what? It's usually their own fault. So one simple headline to walk away from is, look at your strengths and look at your weaknesses. Your strengths will only carry you so far. You're like, oh, I got great muscles. So you get great muscles, you get to a point where you're surrounded by other people who also have great muscles. Now, so it's kind of like getting to the NCAA championship. You get to the championship caliber level, the person who will win is the one who has the fewest weaknesses, the person who makes the team that makes the fewest mistakes. That is true for personal success. So very simple headline. Your weaknesses will pull you down much faster than your strengths will propel you.
Go ahead, Frank, with your next question.
Yeah. I was looking at my life. I have had no interest or teaching. I had no education in business, no business degrees, no nothing. But using common sense, I built up and managed a $40 million a year company. But I had no business degree, no business courses. So I guess street smarts probably came in there somehow.
Okay. So Frank, let me ask you a question. What you label as common sense is what I label as smartness.
Yeah.
So you could be you could be a high school dropout and you could beat me over and over again because you have greater smartness than I do.
Interesting.
So irrespective of how intelligent you are, irrespective of where you are, each one of you can become more successful if you focus on improving your, Neil, fill in the blanks.
Weaknesses.
Focus on improving your smartness.
Oh, your smartness. So smartness. Okay.
To improve your smartness, you will become more successful.
I'm going to throw something at you, Ram, that I found out that was a life-changing thing that happened to me. Because we only have a short interview, but I'd love to talk to you again another time. I took the Gallup organization talents test, and my number one talents, and I found out my top 5 talents, and I've only been focusing on them for the last year and a half. And it's just like changed my life. My number one talent is ideation. I'm an idea guy. Number two is strategy. I'm strategist. Number three is achiever. I want to work 16 hours a day, and I did not know and identify that was the fact that I'm an achiever. The fourth, number four talent I have is competitor, which I have to watch out for because competitor can take me down at times. And number five is communication. So I try to focus on my five top talents, especially ideation, and it's changed every time I get in a meeting now. I know I'm an idea guy. I didn't understand why I always had things to say, and now I get it. And a lot of people aren't idea people. And
Correct.
then I could go.
Let me make one very quick distinction. So somebody listening to this might say, "Oh, I don't know what my strengths are, or I have my," But guess what? Irrespective of what strengths you leverage, the quickest way to become more successful is to identify and reducing your weaknesses. All of us know our weaknesses, and guess what? We lie to ourselves and we tend to hide it. The easiest way to find out, if you want, like, what are my weaknesses? Go talk to your siblings, go talk to your parents. They'll say, "Neil, you have a bad freaking temper. When you get mad, nobody wants to be anywhere near you. You know what I'm saying? You always like to have it." They speak the truth, but guess what? You don't want to hear it. So identify what your weaknesses are and focus on reducing those intensity-wise. You will automatically become more successful. Here is one big thing I always try to tell people. You're born with a certain amount of intelligence. So let's say pick a number, an IQ of say 100. Okay.
100, okay.
You cannot increase 100 to 200.
Mm-mm.
You cannot. On the other hand, and this is, I think I know Frank will agree with me, your smartness. When you're born, you have no smartness. You don't know how to deal with the world, how to deal with people, how to deal with situations. You can keep improving that. Let's say that's also at 100. The smartness you can increase from 100 to 200 to 300 until the day you die, because there is no end to learning more common sense. Because you can increase your smartness and increase your smartness and increase your smartness.
And I think that's where you have to self-reflect every day on yourself and say, what am I not killing it on? What am I not reaching the highest potential, what I can be in my business, in my relationships, and everything, and always look to improve and learn.
I found an easier way.
Okay.
We tend to lie to ourselves. All of us do. You do, I do, all of us do. Instead, what I found is go talk to people who are truth tellers around you. Usually, like I said, your spouse, your parents, your siblings, they will tell you exactly like it is. I've known you for 50 years, and let me tell you one thing about me that pisses me off. Guess what? Write it down. Those are nuggets.
All right. Okay. Best place we can find information on you, Ram. Where can we go?
Well, the website is very simple. The letter I, smartandsuccessful.com.
All right, Ram, we appreciate you coming by. It was great information, and thanks for stopping by.
Absolutely.
All right. You're welcome. You're listening and watching the Neil Haley Show, and we'll be